Ka pai, ho tēnā koutou e te wānau, kua tai mai i tēnei wā, ka tahi anō rā, ka huri ki tō tātou nei kaumātua, ko hone niwa, nā no te wakatau. Kai a koe e te rangatira, ara mai koe.
Me tonga harake e te iwi, toro mai, toro mai, toro mai. Aha ko ai te ramong e tū mai rā, ko Taranaki pēa. Neke mai nuku mai ki taku tauaro, ke noa, a tihei mauri ora. Toro mai ngā ika, toro mai ngā whānau, I roto tēnei, pare tonga o tō tātou mātou tūpuna, anga, rātou ngā inoa, o tō tātou wakapapa. I roto tēnei pā o tātou, I te rātua, o riti ki tēnei, e kōrero I roto, I kōrero roto tōku nākau I te pōnei, nongmai, nongmai hai mai honi nei kōrero, te nui mō ngā kāro I roto I a tātou, mō enei, engari he tuhi. He tuhi roto e nei, ko kunu re te rā hui ai. Koutou mā, e kau e nei, I roto tēnei whare. Mai o Motunui, engari, waipa, e kōrero anō I roto e rā. Engari, waiho. Waiho tērā kōrero, kia rātou I moke wana. Kia koutou toi mai pōnei ko karana. O enei poka. I haere mai I roto te karana o ngā wairua rātou kei runa rā. I te takapau, whāriki. Haere mai I roto enei mā, te raukura. Rori ki tatu I runa rā. Hei mō ngā rona ki runa te whenawa, e whakaro pai. Ke ngā tamata, ara, kia tātou kātou. No reira, kare nui ngā kore ngari, koutou I tai mai, tētahi ki hai te reiria, tētahi ngā motu o te tātou, o Aotearoa, Akarana, Poneke, Hurino, no mai, hara mai. Tātou te whānau Taranaki, ki raro tātou mō ngā, Pai ki te koutou, mene ana, ara. I roto te pūkana, ta pūkana kana, o tēnei tanti, kau nei, mai tērā atu. Kainga, e moi ana nei, Engari te pōnei, ara, I roti a tātou. Ngā whakaro, no reira, e waiho. Rori ki tatu I runa rawa. Tihi, te witi I rawa kotohu. E kawi ana tēnei, I roto tēnei tū, I roto ngā wairua rātou ngā mate. Ka haere ngā mate, ka ora, kia tātou. Pai ki te ngā mokopuna, Ngā tatara kihi o tātou, I te pōnei. Reira tēnā koutou ngā rangatira, ngā puia, ngā karaua, ngā whakaro rātou mā. Ana me tō whānau Rachel. Me tō tātou whānau, o ngā aku o ngā iwi o Taranaki. Piri no te motu, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, kia no tātou atou.
Ka pai, tēnā koe hone. No reira e te whāna kua tai te wā nai nei, now we're going to move into te wakaputanga o te poka nei, the reveal of our poka and the launch. At this time, I'd like to now invite Francis Gentile to come forward, please. Gentile? Aroha mai, it's French, sorry. Sorry, Italian, got that wrong too. Good start. Youngest daughter of Rachel, I got that one right, 1 out of 3. And I'd like to ask Mary Ann Crompton, cousin of Dr. Leo Buchanan, and also mother of Jacob Array Mira, who the book is dedicated to, who passed away last year, 4th of August 2021. So I'd like to invite them to come forward now. Mai. And now we're going to ask our tuahine nei, ahana, ki te tuku karanga, to karanga for us as the reveal happens, and then Matua Hone will then do karakia, ka pai.
Tēnā e te taonga puka puka, tēnā ramai ki te ao marama, tēnā wā katu mai tō mana, tō ii, tō wei, tō kōrero, tō wakapapa, tēnā tū tiki tiki mai ki te ao kiku kiku nei kia pānuitia, kia kōrero ia, kia rere ki ngā tōpito o te motunui Okeroa, kia rere ki te ao anui e tō kōrero, au maia ki runga, au ora ki raro, au maru ki tae. Piki mai, kake mai te au ora e te motunui epa, piki mai, kake mai te au ora
Tēnei ki rungi a tāpe katonga wairunga mātou tūpuna. Nā rātou e whakatakre ara I koe no mō mātou ngauri. Whakatoki tō tātou ngā kaukinga tikangi ara tapingi a tātou. I roto pono te katamāruma tanga me te aroha o tētahi ki tētahi. E ronga whakare ki te runga tūturo amau ki a tīna. Tīna! Umi e ui e, tai ki e.
Paua ki runga, paua ki raro, paua ki tā, more more morangi ki tā, more more nui no papa, e rongo e aio, tēnā tapi tō pau kātu, e tū nei te pau. Kai koe o te pau e tūana. Kai koe o te pau e tūana. Hei anei, tūturu o ki whakapau a kia tīna. Tīna. Au ie, ie. Tai ki e.
Ka pai tēnā koutou. Nei ra kua puta mai tō tātou nei taonga, nā ko tōna kōrero, ka tika rā te kōrero o te kaikaranga, tuku atu ki te motu. Tuku atu nā ki te ao, kia kōrero hia ai ngā kōrero o ngā taonga e tū mai rā nā ki te takapau āriki. Ko ngā taonga o Motunui, ko ngā taonga o Ngāti Rāhiri, ka tika tukua, tukua, tuku atu rā. Ka pai whānau. That brings that part of the ceremony to conclusion in terms of now the reveal of our puka puka, te whakaputanga. We now will move into our kōrero whānau, te tuatahi ki ngā whakairo. Ki ngā whakairo tūpuna o Nehera. Te hunga taipō o rātou mā, te pūkana whākana o ngā mātua tūpuna. He kāno I wakairo kua kitea. I moi ki te repo, ana o Waipapa, o Waihi, Motunui ki Ngāti Rāhiri. Ko te tainga mai o Waikato Tainui, nā ki te riri te take. I oho mai rā koutou ki te ao Mahara. Ka tīmata ana koutou hikoi ki wiwi ki wāwā. I hokana atu koutou ki ngā wenua, ki ngā motu kē o te ao. Ko hori o tira te tangata no poriwa e wakatū wana I a koutou. Ka puta te ii, ka puta te wei, te wana wana me te ia ia kia oki mai koutou ki te kāinga. Ka tai e tai i te wā, ka oki mai ki te po'o o te wenua. Ka tū mai ko Taranaki maunga. Ko para aki ko wai I, ko manu, ko wai papa ko ngā awa. Toko maru waka tiatia wa iwi, Ngāti Rāhiri te apu. Ko motu ara, ko epia, ko tūrangi, nā ko ngā tai taku moana. Ko tani wā, ko kautū, nā pātū wata wata. Ko te mātai wetu, ko te marae, ko waipapa, ko poke tuakura, ngā urupā. Anā, ka tika rā, kia tau te mauri o ngā wakaero ki Puke Ariki, te wakaruru au nei, a Ngāti te witi, te apu wanaunga, e tiaki nei a koutou, purutia tō mana, kia mau, kia ita, ita mau tonu e. Ka tika rā, ka mii atu kia rātau ko ngā mate. Ka hotu hotu ana te manawa, ka ai ana rā te ngā kau, e puna roi mata, ko renga ai, te toki koi a aitua, au e, taukiri te mamai e. Ka tai anō rā, ka uri ki te rangatira, ana a tākuta Rachel Buchanan. E takoto mai ana e ia ki te taha o tō tātou nei, rangatira I rā mutu nei ko Jacob Ray Mera. Nā ka takoto ana rau a ko rātau ana a Taranaki wānui ki te urupā o Ōpau. Ka tahi anō rā ki Mahara. Ka titiro kau atu ana rā ana ki te maunga tito ea o Taranaki. Ka tika rā ka huri ki Puke Ariki. Tēnei pātū wata wata. Ko rangi āpiti rua te rangatira. Ka moia e ia ki korotāia ka puta ko takarangi. Ka moia takarangi ki te puhi ariki o ngā māanga ko te raumahora. Ka puta mai ana ko rongo uaroa. Ka moi a rongo uaroa ki te uti o rongo mai tuatai. Nā ka puta mai ko te āniwaniwa. Nā ka moi a te āniwaniwa ki tā urikura. Ka puta mai te uri rā ko tā urikura karopia. Ka moi e ia ki hemi parai. Ngāti haumia te heke paukena, ka puta ko arapera rongo uaroa parai. Moia ki a William Ellerslie Wallace, ka puta mai ko tāre wārahi. Charles Wallace, I whānau mai ia ki te aro, ki te whanganui ātara. Moia tāre nā ki Margaret O'Toole, ka puta mai ko Hana. Moia e ia ki William Bramley, nā ka puta mai ko Rawinia, Queenie, Agnes, Flossie, Bramley. Moia ane ia ki Frank Buchanan, ka puta mai ko Leo. Ka moia ana a Leo ki Mary English, ka puta mai ko Rachel, ko rātau, ko koutou te whānau ngā uri e tai mai I tēnei wā. Ka tahi anō rā, ka mihi. Ka tahi anō rā, ka mihi. Ka tahi anō rā, ka mihi. Hoki mai, hoki mai, hoki mai koutou ki tō kāinga. Hoki mai koutou ki tō maunga e tū mai nei. A Taranaki maunga, a rua Taranaki ko taurangi e tū ana e ia ki te tihi. Nā ko tōna ahi, nā kia hara mai ana e koutou, kia whakatau mai ana e koutou, ko tōna ahi kia koutou, tō koutou ahi kā. Hoki mai, wakatau. Tahi anō rā ko rātau ngā mate ki a rātau, ko tātau ki a tātau te hungora. Ko te wānau nei, nā ngā uri o tāre warahi, rāua ko Margaret, nā tiatia wa iwi a Taranaki iwi, tēnei te mii tēnā koutou. Ka tahi anō rā ka huri ki te whaiene, ko Mary Florence Buchanan. Aha koa kai te mā ui ia, nā kai konei tonu ia, nā e te waia hine tēnei te mihi atu ki a koe. Ka tahi anō rā, nā kia koutou rā e te wānau e tai ana I tēnei wā, nā tēnei rā hira, tēnei rā kia puta mai te kōrero o tēnei taonga o tātou, anō reira I runga I tērā. Wakatau mai koutou e te wānau, wakatau mai koutou, wakatau mai tēnā tātou katoa. Whānau, we pay acknowledgements to our taonga first, our Epa of Motunui. Our Epa of Motunui that has been realised in this puka puka here, and their journey that they took. And I love the way that Rachel has written them in first person in this puka puka. It's one of the things that really came to mind for me over the weekend as I read this puka puka. How they are spoken about and spoken to. And so before we move on, we also acknowledge the whānau that have arrived here today and their connection to this rangatira rangi Aotearoa. Puke Ariki is the chief's hill where the pā site was established. The pā was established by rangi Aotearoa, who with koro taia, they had tahurangi, they had takarangi, and takarangi with te raumahora, they had rongo uaroa. Rongo uaroa with te whiti o rongo mai tuatahi. You see the names in here. These are all the names of our tūpuna. They had a son called Te Aniwaniwa. Te Aniwaniwa with Tā Whirikura has a connection to Tā Whirikura Karopiha, the whakapapa of our whānau here. She married Hemi Parai of Ngāti Haumia, who was on the Heke Pokena that left from here down to Te Whanganui Ātara. They had a daughter, Arapera, Rongo Uaroa. The name has carried on through the whakapapa, Parai. She married William Ellerslie Wallace, and they had Tare Warahi, Charles Wallace. Charles and Margaret O'Toole had Hannah. Hannah Wallace with William Bramley had Rawinia Queenie Agnes Flossie Bramley, who was quite a staunch lady in the Wellington Rugby Union. Go and have a read of the minutes. Who married Frank Buchanan, who was connected, of course, to is it the Marist or St. Pat's? Marist St. Pat's Rugby Club. So, and then, of course, they had Leo and Mary English, the older sister of, we have Uncle Dermot here, and Uncle Bill's on his way, and he's just arrived. Uncle Bill, we got a seat right over here for you. You came just in time. Horo mai, come over this side here, hoa. So, ladies and gentlemen, former Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Sir Bill English. Kapua, just in time. So, whānau, just making those connections is really important. Making those connections with the whānau. And to have the book launch here at Puke Ariki is very appropriate. Very appropriate. I'd like to now just go through some housekeeping matters. In case of an emergency, we exit out the building. We head down to the Puke Ariki landing, which is down the stairs, and we all meet down at the Pou Tū Kotahi. The wharepaku are at the back over here, to my left, or up the stairs. There are wharepaku there. Just to let you know that this event is being filmed, and if you don't agree with your picture or your lovely kānohi being on as part of this filmed event, then please see Chris, who's down the back there. Just got his hand there. All right, whānau. I'm going to now hand over to our first speaker. Our first speaker is Peter Priest, my uncle Peter Priest. He's the chair of Ngāti Rāhiri o Te Atiawa. So, Uncle Peter, hara mai koe ki te kōrero. Nau mai, hara mai.
He honore, e kororia ki te atua, e maungorongo ki te whenua, e whakaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa, i he Māori ora. Ki ngā mate o te wā, haere atu rā koutou ki o koutou kāinga tūturu, i te taha o koutou tūpuna i reira. Haere, haere, haere atu rā. Ki ngā iwi, ngā hapu o te rohe nei. Te rohe o te maunga tapu a Taranaki. Tēnei te mihi nui ki a koutou katoa. Ki te whānau o Ngāti Rāhiri. E hui hui mai nei, e mihi nui hoki ki a koutou katoa. Raurangatira mā e hui hui mai nei, ngā manuhiri honore. Ngā mema o te kauni hera, te kai whakahaere me ngā kai mahi o Puke Ariki. E mihi nui ki a koutou katoa. Ki te tāngata matua o tēnei ahi pō, a Rachel. E nui te mihi atu ki a koe. Kua tai mai tātou katoa, I ronga I te kaupapa o tēnei ahi pō. Te wakanui tō mahi. Kei konei, te taonga o te motu. Kei konei, e taonga o te rohe nei. Kei konei, e taonga hau hoki. E ahata te taonga hau. Te puka o te taonga o Ngāti Rāhiri, ngā epa o Motunui. Nō reira, ngā mihi nui ki a koe mō tēnā. I tēnei wā, me huri au ki te reo Pākehā. The first thing I'd like to acknowledge is our past Ngāti Rāhiri kaitiaki for the Epa, who have now passed on. Mahau waru. Mina timutumu. Te uru mairangi Ritai. Also, I'd like to acknowledge our present and also past Ngāti Rāhiri kaitiaki that are still with us. Mai kara tāpoke, Moana Denise, put your hand up, Moana. And Tau Mairangi Marsh, who couldn't be here today. Also, to acknowledge our previous kaitiaki, Liana Potu. If you're here, Liana, put your hand up. And Kelvin Day. So, a special mihi to Kelvin, who's done a lot of work and started off a lot of work towards the research on this book. Also going forward, the new chair, the representative for ko tahitanga o Te Atiawa, Damon Ritai, and Colleen Mullins, who couldn't be here, the Puke Ariki kaitiaki. There is one person, a very important person, who, without this person, a lot of this wouldn't have happened. And that is Ron Lambert. So a big mihi to Ron Lambert. I may have missed out some, and others, so I apologise if I have. Back to the person, Rachel. Rachel came to visit us some 4 years ago at our monthly hui with her support person, Mahara Okeroa. She had a vision of writing the story of the Epa. It was great to listen to for someone who'd been captivated by the journey of the Epa and a passion to write the story. There was some skepticism in what she wanted, but you know what? She won us over. The story as she related to us was like an adventure. And all of a sudden, we all wanted to be part of that adventure as well. She also shared with us her connection to Te Atiawa and Taranaki. From that first hui, she promised us certain things over the duration of the writing of the book. And she has delivered everything she said in full. So thank you. She has recorded for us a part of history for which Ngāti Rāhiri Hapu will be for always grateful. Let's talk about the book. The book, apart from the beautiful image of the Motunui Epa, is really, really comforting and attractive. When you pick it up and put it in your hand, it's got a nice feel to it. Really nice feel to it. comfortable. It's well balanced and it has a nice weight. When you open the pages, you can see that only quality paper is used. And the font is the right size for someone like me for reading. The tone of the story is at times expressed in the form of poetry. So it flows and the poetry comes out to meet you, and all of a sudden you're sailing that big ship on the big sea as well. This is the first book that I know of about the journey of the Epa, and it certainly won't be the last. And that's what happens with good books like that. I can go on and on, but I'm sure there are others amongst you who will want to share the experiences of Rachel with you. I would like to close with these few words that I penned for Rachel on the back of the book. Te Motunui Epa is well researched and well told. For Ngāti Rāhiri, the journey related here brings up feelings of pain and as well as joy and pride as well. We can marvel at the ongoing mana and the wairua of this taonga, and in this book, everyone can share in this extraordinary journey. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
E ngā iwi o te motu nei, e aukura rā tēnei, e te tia nei te ati awa, i te rā i te katoa. E ngā iwi o te motu nei, no ika rā te whenua nei, mana tiara iwi, i te rā i te katoa. Kua tū a te piti, no runga iana mai pai, no runga iana mai tika, i tōna nā tau pai.
Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora.
Ka pai, tēnā koe Uncle Peter. Kei whānau, at this time now I'd like to invite former Member of Parliament, the Honourable Mahara Okeroa. Ara mai koe e te rangatira.
Ngā mei kia koutou wakahua tia, ara me ki pēnei pēr, ngā wairua kōrero, ko waka kākau tia, te kākahu o te katoa, tō ruka te tika te pono me te māramatanga. Ka rere. Ka rere ngā mei, mai te tia mana e no mai rā, ki tēnei tōnga a kupu e ndo ki te taa nei, ki te wakamārama mai ana te ono tanga o ngā mea katoa o te tangata ki te tangata. Aha koa ara no hea pupu i ai, aha koa tō ea e no ai. Pērā te weka, te weke me o nā toro e aia e no o mai rā, ara ki te tai a kupe kami. People, tēnā koe, Bill, the Right Honourable Sir Bill English. last time we met was at a commemorative service for widow gardener. So we go from that to a gathering of celebration. So in a sense, there's no difference that we make between a service waka maumahara to this gathering tonight of celebration. I will take a bit of poetic license tonight. I know we got a reasonable amount of time, and thank you, Chairman, for making your speech so short and concise. It is much appreciated. Ke tu haere ana a au kei roto I te pātaka waka I ngā kōrero. Ki te rapu ana I ngā kupu tika nei hei tīmata hanga kōrero mōku, no runga I te kaupapa mana nui, I mua I a tātou I te ahi ahipo. You can breathe some sigh of relief because I'm not going to speak in Māori any more than that. So it means we can all understand. And it also means that some of us are partly bilingual and proud of the ability to do so. What I said then, I searched the pātaka of wisdom and universal knowledge to seek the most appropriate word or phrase that would embrace the essence of my presentation this evening. For this reason, I borrowed a phrase from an ancient Chinese philosopher, Lao Tzu, from 571 BC. He said, what the caterpillar calls the end, the rest of the world calls a butterfly. Now that's quite important because inherent in that ancient kōrero are the notions of a metamorphosis, a transformation, and a rebirth. But not without pain, struggles, disappointment, loss, frustration, betrayal, It begins. And I'm going to talk a lot in the first person because I think that was a very, very important distinction. By talking in the first person means that those epa up there are still imbued with the Māori. This is going to be part of the theme tonight. In other words, we draw no distinction between then and now. Lifted out of the swamp alone, transported to Constant Street alone, kept in a car shed floor, on a car shed floor alone, smuggled out of Aotearoa in crates labelled as garden furniture alone, arrival in foreign lands, in this case, America alone. None of our people, and there was a lot of our people still alive there, none of our people were told or notified. When questioned about why he, Manukonga, had not informed the people, his response, quote, he didn't think he had to. That is part of the public record. Finders keepers, $6,000 later. On sold to that Whistle, wheeler dealer smuggler, to Ortez, the international art dealer, for $65,000. Artistic kleptomania is a fancy way of describing another word, another phrase, which is naked greediness. I know I'm going on whatever you record, but that's my view. There will be future consequences for those acts. We did not know, like the Epa, we were alone and left, bereft. Maybe the caterpillar was right. Ka taka anō pea te pō. Now, that means darkness descends again. I've got so many great notes here, people, just hold it. I think it is appropriate to reference this presentation to a kōrero by one of the prophets of Parihaka Tohu Kākahi in Parihaka in June 1895. 14 years after the pāhuatanga of Parihaka and the absolute misery and devastation, spiritually, culturally, socially and psychologically, torn asunder like a rag fluttering in the wind, but a rag nevertheless. I say that because we survived it. And I will quote in English what he said to the gathering at Parihaka. My struggle through the years is a struggle for peace to prevail across the land and upon the people. I give over my resilience and my voice as a voice of leadership to you of this generation, that you may cause to be an inspiration to the two peoples. Your voice will never be suppressed by the great powers of this generation. Your mouths will not be muzzled and shut down by the great powers and forces of this country, nor by the great powers and forces of this world. Your message can be relied upon. You provide the means to overcome the evil. Mai te kino ki te pai. The principles that are and values that are inherent in tohu's kōrero historically are the same values and principles that were central to the return of the Epa. Resilience, advocacy, conviction, integrity, wisdom, belief, truth, courage, determination, influence, power. I'm talking about power both in the earthly sense and otherwise. Inspiration, faith, and knowledge. This is the beginning of the journey, people. A journey that was going to last over 4 decades. But with that journey, there were a number of interventions. And I think the first and most critical intervention has to be, in my opinion, from a most unusual genesis. Ron Lambert, a humble and good man, but clearly an expert in his field, exceedingly well informed and well respected, was at a social evening. I think it was Inglewood. Anyway, a social evening. Over here, a conversation about Sotheby's are about to auction the Epa on behalf of Ortez. He's part of this group of 3 people to raise money to pay the ransom for his daughter who has been kidnapped. The red lights are flashing. Ron responds with absolute urgency. Ron is the catalyst. He is the catalyst. And his response is one of great urgency. And it's an intervention of absolute critical importance. Because if the sale goes ahead and the Epa are part of the lot in which he wants to sell, they could have been irretrievably lost and not able to be recovered. So, I will read to you again, when I find the damn thing, being well organised, exactly what happened. Ron, on the 3rd of June 1978, raises the alarm with the National Museum about the auction of the Taranaki pātaka panels in the Ortiz auction in London. June the 4th, the museum contacts the Department of Internal Affairs at an extremely high level to a person well known then by the name of Bob Cater. Bob Cater calls the police in New Plymouth. June the 12th, Cater refers the matter to the Minister for Internal Affairs, Alan Hyatt. 16th of June, Foreign Affairs cables London High Commission. Commission engages John Rank, London solicitor, to provide advice. 20th of June, Frank Corner, who was then the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, writes to the Solicitor General, Richard Savage, QC, asking for help. Hyatt agrees to injunct. But this question is, if I use the Shakespearean term, to be or not to be. Oh, clever, eh? I'll read this at Stephen. If it is not to be, then we wouldn't be here today. The injunction is placed with the High Court of Justice London, who issue a writ seeking an injunction to withdraw the Epa from the auction at Sotheby's. Sotheby's withdraws the carving from the auction, Ortiz cracks up. In the local colloquial, spits the dummy. Big time. On June the 29th, 1978, the George Ortiz collection of primitive works of art auction goes ahead minus our tipuna. Huge intervention. Absolutely, critically of such critical importance. We're just now realising what it actually means. Ngā mihi, ara, ngā mihi. So, I wonder, here we go with the first person again, and have spent some considerable time talking with Rachel, that the timing of being at a social gathering that he might not have attended is immaculate. Immaculate. For me, too immaculate. Because there were so many influences and forces that could have prevented Ron from being there. That was my first twitch. I don't believe in random. I don't believe in coincidence. I think it's just an easy way of saying something without acknowledging there may be other powers at play here. Intervention 2. And Bill will appreciate this. Also, Bill. Oh, the Right Honourable Bill. Excuse me, Bill. It's a complicated whakapapa you've got. Almost as critical as intervention number 1 is intervention number 2. Goes like this. Why did Muldoon's Conservative government agree to bankroll international legal action? That's quite hell of a significant as well. Didn't have to. A cabinet minute exists to give effect to the decision. Now, what is a cabinet minute? Cabinet minutes give absolute power to act. Crown Counsel should take, quote, all necessary legal steps to secure the return to New Zealand of the 5 panels claimed to be the property of Ortiz. You know, when I was talking about to be or not to be, the High Court in London found in our favour. Yeah. Now, the National Party, now I'm not hung up about, National Party, Labour Party, Maori Party and all that sort of stuff. I've seen the light. Why is the question. Why? I'll quote from the Puke Tapu Nei. This is a rare occasion on which the Crown used its money, power, people, networks to act in the interests of a treaty partner. At that time, we're talking about 1978, people, domestically on the New Zealand landscape, there were all sorts of things happening around that time that was about the relationship between the Tonga and the his partners and government. Let me explain. Land March, 1975. Raglan Golf Course, 76, 78. Bastion Point, 1978. Now that's an important date because here's Robert Muldoon and his cabinet signing off a cabinet minute on the same year as people will be removed, protesters, from Bastion Point. Incredible. Then there's that infamous tour by the Springboks in 1981. And the Motunui outfall. Here we are, 1983. Think about it. Yet, much to the credit of the National Party, I told you I've got all that other stuff, there was still this incredible political will at the highest level, even though everything was happening at the same time. I go back to that first person. We ask why did that happen? Why? I'm not here to convert you to my particular brand of how I see the world, but it's getting increasingly difficult not to be like that. No, kei runga rātou. Amazing. So we turn our attention having won the first round, to address the return of the Epa. We have to go through the court system, Westminster. And this is what tohu refers to in Māori, in the reo, as ngā maunga nundui o te ao, me ngā puke. What he's referring to there is these epa have been able to influence people at the highest level of both Aotearoa, and funny enough, legally anyway, the judges of the High Court and the Court of Appeal. We launch the case. Ortiz and that smuggler, wheeler dealer, appeal it. So it goes from the High Court, which found in favour of Aotearoa. Those two appeal it, it goes to the Court of Appeal. Yeah. The Court of Appeal overturns the decision. The New Zealand government appeals it. It then goes to the House of Lords. Who find in favour of the smuggler and the dealer and the international art collector? Who? This is what I'm trying to outline, but it doesn't stop there. It does not stop there. I think it's 1983. Senior public servants, I mean really senior, plus the Attorney General at that time, come up with this idea that representatives of the owner of the land where the Epa were uncovered could take direct action against Ortiz. 4 representatives were selected, not by themselves, of course. Auntie Ivy, Mum, her niece, Mona Raumati, and another nephew, Ray, for Manaia, to take the case and sue Mr. Ortiz, because they thought it would probably be quite successful. Unfortunately, there was another law we didn't know about, and the law is called, I think, the Statute of Limitations, which you have 6 years from 78 to contest. This happened right when the Statute of Limitations took effect. Well, what happens? Ortiz takes the Epa and incarcerates them for the next 40 years. Lockup. The securest lockup probably in existence at that time in Geneva, where the fat cats and high, extraordinarily rich people keep all their Bibles and precious things. It seems like that caterpillar knew something that we didn't. You know, it's testing. The interesting thing that Robert Muldoon lost the next election, as some of you old enough can remember, Labor then takes under Longy the case forward, went Long, and then who followed him? Bolger. They pick up the cudgel, they pick up the challenge and carry it forward. Helen Clark, whom I knew quite well. I won't go there. Pursues it. The Right Honourable Bill English carries it on. There's a waka-papa going on here, people. The persistence and resilience is intergenerational. It has attracted the support of a whole range of people across the spectrum of our society, not only in Aotearoa, but in Australia, America, Geneva, across the world. I'm now getting more twitches because I'm starting to think this is not at random. This is definitely not coincidental. Something's happening here, people. Kia ora, koutou ara, koutou rā, ātong. In those 40 years, those 4 decades, the negotiations, the words, millions of words are generated. I'm proud to be a Māori living in Aotearoa. It does affect my view across a nation that has 2 key participants, that we can work together. It is an interesting thought, now more than just a mere thought. Ortiz gets very ill, and every time, along with Helen Clark and others, I did have a sort of a ministership in cultural and heritage. She was the boss. I was just, I'll carry the bag. So sit there, spent hours and hours, but so did other people. Incredible. Ortiz, like everybody else, is as immortal as we are. He has to catch a train like everybody else. He is subjected to, for whom the bell tolls, like everyone else, irrespective of his wealth, influence, and other things. Ka mate te tangata. And now, the metamorphosis, the rebirth, and the transformation can take place. It can start to take place. The other little twitch I got, and I talked about this with Rachel as well, there are so many bit players here. A whole, huge number of big players making their contributions. It reminds me of that Shakespearean quote, "For all the world's a stage, man and woman mere players. They have their entries, their exits, and their entries." I'll now talk about the first person. In the first person, I can't, at this time, have any other view about the influence and forces that Tohu talked about being exercised. All we have to do is acknowledge it. It's not woo-woo. It is real. Yeah, bless them. It sort of gives me an answer to who was carrying the toko. You know, toko, Charles Gavard, symbol of authority and knowledge. Who was making those decisions? And so we go on. The Motunui Epa would become Aotearoa, New Zealand's most valuable work of art. And the Crown itself would pay the price to prove it. More significantly, the Epa would transform the national and international laws and agreements, creating a new cloak of protection for all Tonga, across the world. The Epa embrace or embody the very principles of utu, not you kill me, I kill you, but utu in this case dedicated to maintaining a balance or addressing a balance and relationships across the material and non-material world, the seen and the unseen, the physical and the non-physical. These are the values inherent in the Epa. 40 years of pain, 40 years of frustration, 40 years of every bloody thing. Why does Taranaki have to go through this thing again? Is the question. Maybe that's why Keith, after the then Minister of Treaty Settlements, and me and he and a couple of others had an enormous row that, hotter than Hagi stones, come bursting into the Atiawa calmness that was at the next room to announce that the Epa were returning. Keith was overcome, absolutely overcome, uncontrollably overcome. I think that is a tohu. So were we all overcome. This would never have been possible, Rachel, this Tonga. I don't think the word is just right, but I'll try to seek another. Has been made possible. And in that regard, I think the iwi, Taranaki, the ao nui perhaps, should thank your family for allowing this to happen. Mike, kia ora, Mike, and your daughters, 3, look at their names here, there's Lily, yeah, tell me. Ah? No. Letty? Francis. We thank you. Oh! Because you allowed this to come into your lives. That would have caused a wee bit of tension occasionally. Ooh. Where's my mother? We are indebted. We are indebted because your mother, as I discovered in 2010, has a genius, a gift. Boo. For writing. You know, I launched, I think way back, you were there, Bill, what was it called? The Parihaka Albert, lest we forget. That was not 2010. It is now 2022. The next thing we did was Ko Taranaki te Maunga. This is the third major work by Rachel with the agreement of a long-suffering whānau. Thank you. We better have a beer, you shout. So that this treasure can be shared and reach across the world. I thank all participants. Is you here, Ron? Ron's not here. There we are. Yeah. The catalyst. The catalyst. Who is responsible for lighting the fire? Okay, people. Here's my conclusion. I told you I'd dip into the pātaka ka iringa kōrero of wisdom and universal knowledge, otherwise known as Uncle Google. It is a proverb to conclude my presentation. Man's law changes with the understanding of men. Only the laws of the Spirit remain always the same. There's no death, only the change of worlds. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. In comparison and in conclusion, in this saga, we are the children. Kia ora, mai tātou katoa, huri huri no kei roto I tēnei ware tiaki taonga. Rire, rire, au pārere, rire, rire. Au pārere ki tātou katoa. Ngā mihi.
E re rā te motunui ki roto ko ia o pari haka nā to urai waka ai e mai ngāti kanga I te re pai pai ai te motu nei tō piki tanga kai te pu repoto e ke tanga anga kai toroa, nui ki a wakarongo ko e ki te reka mai o te kōrero, ai, ai, ai. Mātau tonu au ki a koe e tō ue, te ngākau a ka puke tonu me a aiara e mauru e ko te au ka weru waka motu e ana kei te uru e kei te tonga ka ara mai ki roto kako ari ari ei.
Kia ora mai tātou katoa.
Ka pai. Ka tika rā ko te reka o te kōrero. Ko te reka o te kōrero ka puta mai a koe Mahara. Ka uri anō rā ki tō whai ina ngā ina. Takoto mai ana ki waipapa. Kai reira rātau e takoto ana ko rātau mā, Auntie Ivy mā, ko rātau ana tēnei o ngā taonga. Nō reira i runga i tērā te mihi atu ki a koe, e kawe ana tēnei kaupapa rangatira mo tātou ngā uri o Ngāti Rāhiri. Ka pai e te whānau, just a mihi to Mahara for his kōrero, his very theatric aku kōrero, and just to remind us of what took place, So mihi ana ki a koe, and I think about Auntie Ina, I think about Auntie Ivy, I think about our kuia, those kuia who would today be very, very happy with the return, firstly, of the Epa, the mahi wairua and the mahi tūpuna, to bring them back home to where we are. Whānau, at this stage now, I'd like to invite Sister of Rachel, Hannah, to come forward to read a letter of apology. Unfortunately, Dr. Arapata Hikuwai, the Kaihau tū Māori co-leader at Te Papa, was unable to be here, but I'll hand that over to Hannah now to read his kōrero. Kai a koe, Hannah. Hara mai.
Tēnā koe e tungani. I don't quite look like Arapata, but I do know Arapata, and so I'm very happy to read his words for this event this evening. Kia ora koutou, kei ngā mana wakatikitiki, kei ngā ii, kei ngā rangatira o Taranaki maunga, Taranaki iwi, Taranaki tangata, tēnā koutou Ngāti Rāhiri, me te ati awa Taranaki wānui mo te wakarewatanga o te pukapuka wakahira ira i te pōnei. Mai i a taki timu waka e mihi ake. Sincere apologies for not being able to be there tonight, as my sister-in-law is in a critical condition and doesn't have long in this world, te ao kiko kiko. To you, Rachel, I just wanted to wish you all the best for the launch tonight. This is your taonga, your treasure, your past, present and future. It's not for me to speak about the importance of this taonga, but when I think about the Motunui pātaka, my mind is cast back many years, as I've always known about its tragic and sad history. Mahara, my mind goes back to the time when I was in a hui in the mid-2000s, when you discussed this taonga with your people and the plans for how you might negotiate its return. All I know is that there have been many attempts to have your taonga returned. What's really disappointing is that there have been many people with dubious intent and questionable ethics involved in the potential return of this taonga over many years. However, it was an honour and humbling experience to be able to play a small part in the return, and I will never forget when the pātaka returned to your marae and people in 2015. Please accept my apology for not being there tonight in person, but my heart and hinengaro will never forget how important the return of this taonga was. Tēnā koutou, Taranaki maunga, Taranaki tangata. From Dr. Arapata Hakiwai.
To
Ka pai, tēnā koe hana. Ka tika rā te waiata, nā e taonga tuku iho. Kua tuku iho nei, mai ngā mātua tupuna, nā ka tai ana ki tō tātou nei o re taonga, nā ka pūkana whākana mai atu rā ki a tātou e tai ana. Nō reira mihi ana ki a koe hana, and just to acknowledge, of course, Dr. Arapata, hiku wai mo tōna, haki wai mo tōna tautoko ana, for his support in the kaupapa of bringing back our taonga. At this time, whānau, I'd like to now invite Tom Rennie to come forward, publisher at Bridget Williams Books. Hara mai koe, Tom. Hara mai.
Tēnā koutou katoa. My name is Tom Rennie, and I'm here today on behalf of Bridget Williams Books, BWB, the publisher of Rachel's book, Te Motunui Epa. BWB is a long-standing independent book publisher based in Wellington. Much of our work is guided by the principle of helping an author to realize their vision for their book. It is therefore a real joy and a privilege to be with you all today with people from across Taranaki to mark the publication of this important work. I can attest to the immense care, commitment, and thought that Rachel has placed into the research and writing of Te Motunui Epa. It has been work characterized by the intensities and challenges of the pandemic, with many hui, many zui, and lots of discussion and consideration at every turn. The result is a book that aspires to introduce readers across Aotearoa and the world to the amazing and ongoing story of the Epa. I just want to speak briefly to acknowledge some of the many people from our position as publisher that have helped to realize this publication. Firstly, the engagement and support of Peter, Mahara, and the people of Ngāti Rāhiri has been absolutely central to the book's arrival in the world. Thank you. A feature of our publishing is the regular use of expert readers. The guidance and insight from readers, including Arapata Hakuwai, Matariki Williams, Christina Barton, and others, is warmly acknowledged. Likewise, Honiana Love has been generous with her time and expertise. We recently filmed a conversation between Honiana and Rachel on the origins and archival record behind the book, which will be available soon on our website. The support of Colleen Mullen and her team at Puke Ariki has also been vital, as has the permission from many artists, photographers, museums, galleries, and others for the wonderful images that appear through the pages of this book. Throughout the development of Te Motunui Epa, I have observed the support of Rachel's whānau. Writing a book is hard. Writing a book during a pandemic is even harder. So I especially want to mihi to Mike and family in Melbourne for all of your support, as well as to Hannah and Ruth and others for your support in helping make this book happen. Our work at BWB is non-profit and reliant on funding, and the support of Creative New Zealand is acknowledged. Our Books in School Libraries program, made possible by funding, has seen over 60,000 BWB books placed in schools and kura nationwide in recent years. With support from the Freemasons Foundation, a copy of Te Motunui Epa will soon be placed in school libraries, almost 500 of them, right across Aotearoa. To have this book in the hands of rangatahi speaks to the narrative of hope that runs throughout Te Motunui Epa. It is, as Rachel writes, a story about the power of art to help us find a way through the darkness. Thank you all for being here today to celebrate its publication, and may this book be a source of hope for future generations. Kia ora.
Te whakapono, me te rangi
Ka pai, tēnā koe Tom. And just want to add that Colleen Mullen, the Puke Ariki Museum manager, had planned to be here, but she gives her apologies as a result of a backup of flights in Auckland and Tāmaki, so she was unable to be here tonight. But Ron, where are you? Ron, could you stand up, please? You would have heard mention of Ron through Mahara's kōrero. Ho mai te paki he te whānau, mihi ana. Tēnā koe, Ron. Thank you very much, and just want to acknowledge you were the first part of that and very critical in the return of our epa. So e mihi ana ki a koe te rangatira. Thank you. Whānau, now I'd like to bring us to our final speaker for the evening. And of course, that's our author and the writer of our puka puka, Dr. Rachel Buchanan. Ho mai te paki mō Rachel. Hara mai koe, Rachel.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ngā mihi o te wānei kia koutou. It is awesome to look around this room and see so many people here to support the book, but also our taonga tupuna. And I want all of you to know, wherever you've come from, that your presence here in this room is lifting the mana of this occasion. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your connection is, I welcome you here. I welcome you in as an uri of Taranaki to honouring our old people and our future generations. So ngā mihi nui kia koutou, thank you all for being here. To Peter Priest, thank you for your leadership, Peter, and your words tonight. I deeply appreciate that. To Colleen Mullen and the team at Puke Ariki, to Kelvin Day, who's here, he was the previous head of Puke Ariki, very involved in the return of the taonga. I want to thank everyone that works at this museum for their care of our taonga. Thank you for your work. To John Niwa and the Konihira Committee, ngā mihi. Thank you, John, for making the mihi whakatau. It was beautiful. I particularly want to acknowledge Damon Ritai. Damon has been an outstanding MC, and I know that you will share with me in thanking him for keeping us all safe during this event and for giving such a warm word of welcome. I'm really appreciative, ngā mihi. To Bridget Williams herself, so this book publishing company is named after a woman. Bridget is a woman who is a matriarch. She is a significant figure in New Zealand publishing history, and I am proud to be working with Bridget in a book that carries her name. I saw Bridget in Wellington just a few days ago. She sends her best wishes here. She has not travelled out of Wellington since the COVID-19 pandemic began. I'm sure we all understand her need for safety, but Bridget is here with us. Tom is her protege, and I've been privileged to work with Tom and everyone else at BWB. Thank you, Tom, for believing in this book. When you read the book, you'll see it's a bit of a departure from what Bridget Williams Books normally publishes, which is extremely scholarly, well-referenced works of history. Dame Claudia Orange, Vincent O'Malley, Judith Binney, of course, these really prestigious works. My work joins that line, but it's a bit different because some of it is narrated by our taonga tupuna upstairs. And I want to thank you, Tom, for backing me and letting me do that, not getting cold feet, not running away. And I know that you had to take some risks, so I want to acknowledge that, and Bridget. Everyone at BWB who's come, so there's a contingent. Tom has come with his groupie, shall we say, up from Wellington, and Luke and the rest of the team are over there. And I just want to acknowledge how special it is for a publisher to come from Wellington to the Maunga. It does not really happen very often. I know that people who live here are usually expected to travel to Hui, here, there and everywhere if it's something of national significance. So I think it's a sign of all of us Uri of Taranaki can be proud about that. They have come to us. I want to acknowledge 3 women who have been really important in bringing the actual physical book to life. Katrina Duncan is here. So Katrina is over here in the green jacket. She is New Zealand's best book designer. That's my view, and I think it can be borne out. Katrina, I've worked closely with her, mainly over Zooey, but also in a couple of face-to-face meetings. So Katrina chose the typeface that Peter mentioned. It's a beautiful font. I've forgotten the name. It's called signifier, okay? It's a signifier. And also the way the pages look, that they're airy, the illustrations that have been chosen, the use of archival records as illustrations, that is the work of Katrina Duncan. The beautiful open spiral, that is a text break that was gifted to the book by Uncle John Te Whare Mātanga Baxter. Katrina was the first to really embrace that. So I mihi to you, Katrina. Keely O'Shaughnessy, I'm not sure if Keely is here, but Keely designed the cover. And also Jane Parkin, the editor of the book, I want to mihi to her for all that work. Te mātua Mahara Okeroa. Words can't express my gratitude to you, towards you for your guidance, mentorship, friendship and political advice through this process. Mātua won't want me to go on, but I just want everyone here to know that he is a true co-author of this book. His name should be on the cover. He's too humble to want that, but let it be known when you read the book, it is his voice as much as mine in there. For readers who would like to explore further the origin of some of the most beautiful poetic statements in the book, it is not me, it is Mahara and his mother and other old people that Mahara grew up with. So you can explore that in the footnotes. Now, if you're a bit, your sight's not what it was, get out a little bit of a magnifying glass, ask your grandchild to look in the footnotes and you will find where all these statements came from. So please do that. And I want to just, Mātua mentioned the pepeha ka utu te kino ki te pai, repay the bad with the good. That's been our driving force for this work. And I feel really proud that that's what we're demonstrating tonight, despite all the pain and suffering of Taranaki people, both past and recent. This is something we can really celebrate. So that's it. The final thing I want to talk about is my immediate whānau. And thank you, Damon, and Mahara for mentioning my partner, Mike, and our 3 daughters, but also the wider whānau here. As has been said, this book was written during a global pandemic, and at the start of 2020, I was meant to be spending months in New Zealand doing my research and all of that stuff. Obviously, COVID stopped that. My partner, Mike, wasn't able to work for about 12 weeks, couldn't earn any money, had to close his business down, but he held the fort at home and was the supreme writer's butler. We did call him the butler because Mike did all the cooking, all the cleaning. He supported our daughters through their university and school, and I was able to go very, very deep into the world of this book. I completely submerged myself. It's the first time in my life I have had that opportunity. There will be many writers and artists in the room. You know how rare that is. So bizarrely, I think COVID has created the book that you see before you. So ka utu te kino ki te pai. Ngā mihi, COVID. It's bizarre to say that. I also, want to just say something about the actual large number of my immediate whānau who are here have travelled from Australia, from Wellington, from Auckland, from Paraparaumu and from Otaki. All the important places in New Zealand have come here today to support me. We had a beautiful whānau dinner last night and we had waiata practice this afternoon. And it's the first time we've gathered in this larger numbers since Dad's tangi 5 years ago. And I think that often for whānau, whether you're Māori or Pākehā, it can be those sad events that bring us together. Or it can be a wedding, say, but as one of my brothers was saying, with weddings, there's winners and losers because it can be a reminder that you're not married or your marriage failed or whatever. But this event is a total positive buzz. This is about a taonga tupuna that has returned and we all whakapapa, not all of us, but we're here. We whakapapa to this absolute masterpiece that has come back. So I want to thank all of my whānau for your warm and amazing support. And I actually feel this has been one of the most positive aspects of the book, is bringing everyone together for this occasion. So I've mentioned Dad. I want to mention our mother, Mary Buchanan. Damon kindly mentioned her. Mum's very unwell with dementia. She's been lived with dementia for at least 10 years and lives at Village at the Park in Wellington. I visited with Mum last week and took the book with me. Mum can no longer walk or talk or do very much that we can all do, but I decided I wanted to have a book launch with her. So what I did, I read the opening poem by J.C. Sturm, our whanaunga, so John Baxter's mother, that opens the book, and I read the closing kupu whakakapi that my very talented sister Hannah composed. And as I was reading the words in Māori, my pronunciation is mediocre, but I went there, and the translation, Mum started to cry, and it was just the most beautiful thing. She started to tangi, like all these tears falling down her face. And I took that as Mum's blessing for this book. It was a really special private moment, but I want to share it with you because I know Mum would want, she's here and she blessed this book. The final thing I want to say is about the dedication in the front of the book. This book is dedicated to our cousin Jacob Ray Mira. Jacob passed away tragically at a very young age in his early 30s about a year ago in Geneva. He had a very aggressive cancer that took his life very quickly. And Jacob was an amazing young person who performed so many important roles for our whānau. He had incredible Māori language skills that he had worked really hard to gain at Otago University. And he held the space for us at a number of significant events when there was no one else to do that job. So his passing was a massive loss. When he died in Geneva, there were 3 people at his bedside: his mother and father, Mary Ann Crompton, Steve Mira, and his young wife, Scarlett. And I'm going to finish with the last words that Jacob said, the last words he uttered, which is a message to all of us. Jacob said, "Aroha nui rawa atu." Endless love and blessings for everyone. That's it. E te ho, horoia, e te hua, whitia, e te rā, mai e ake nā, poraruraru. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Ka pai e te whānau, nō reira i runga i tērā tēnei te mihi atu ki a koe e Rachel. Nā ka puta mai tēnei taonga pukupuka anei mō ngā uri me ki o Ngāti Rāhiri, Te Atiawa, Taranaki, whānui atu rā ki te motu ki te ao. Nō reira i runga i tērā mihi ana ki a koe. Thank you, Rachel, for your kōrero. Okay, whānau, from here, the museum shop will be set up for book sales. There will be signings available here from Rachel. Kai is about ready to be served, and refreshments. We're going to finish the formal proceedings with a karakia and a waiata we'll all do together, which will be tū tira mai ngā iwi, very appropriate for all of us. And then we'll have karakia for Kai, and we'll invite Matua Hone to do our karakia for Kai. So with that e te whānau, kua mutu tēnei wāhanga. This is the concluding part of our evening. And yes, books are for sale as well. So hopefully you've got your FPOS cards or all of that to buy yourself and purchase yourself a book. Also, a reminder, please go to visit the Epa. Please go and mihi to the Epa. I remember 2015 when they first arrived back home here, and we were downstairs in the basement the first time they'd been home with our Uncle Tony and our kui, who did a karakia and did a karanga for them. And as soon as the box lids were opened, you could feel their happiness. they were happy to be home. Happy to be home. So with that, ko mutu taku kōrero, ko mutu tēnei wāhanga o tēnei pō. And Bill, I was just remembering a kōrero that Minister Finlayson gave, that when the offer was made to purchase the Epa back, I think he came to see you and John straight away, and the pūtea was made available. So mihi ana ki a koe and the connection that we have with the whānau and with the puka. So with that, e te whānau, kua mutu tēnei wāhanga, e tū tātou mo te waiata, tūtira mai ngā iwi. Ka pai?
Tūtira mai ngā iwi, tātou e. Tūtira mai ngā iwi, tātou e. Pai a te maramatanga, me te aroha e ngā iwi, ki a ko tapatai, ki a ko taira, tātou e. Tātou e. Hei au e hei. Nō reira, unu ia te uru tapu nui kia wātea, kia māma, te ngākau, te tinana, te wairoa i te aratakatu. Kuia rā e rongo wakaere aki ki runga, kia wātea, ai rā kua wātea, au pai mārire. Pai mārire ki a koutou e te wānau, pai mārire ki ngā taonga e tūnei, ngā epa o Motunui, ana pai mārire ki te kaupapa, anō reira tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa, ka huri ki a koe matua hone, hei karakia mo te kai.
Nō maanga hui hara mai nei, I waka tupua nuku, waka tupua rangi. Tāwhia kia tamaki te ao maramei rongo, kariki rongo tūtura, waka maua kia tīna. Umi e ui e.
Tai
E kai.
Just a reminder, whānau, no kai inside the bookshop, no kai upstairs into the Takapau whāriki, just kai here, be lovely. Hara mai whānau. Can we invite Rachel's whānau, immediate whānau, go to have a kai, go to have a drink, followed by the rest of our visitors. Hara mai koutou.